So if it's fine by you, Nicole, I'm also gonna, how do you say, record the session.
Good morning, everyone. And yes, thank you, Ann-Mareme. That's perfect.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, we'll start in 2 minutes. Okay, so I think we're ready to begin. So, hello, everyone, and welcome to this new session of Discovery webinars. And this session will be surrounding expansion strategies for African businesses to French markets. So my name is Ann-Mareme ATAYI, and I'm Senior Manager for International Institutions within the EuroQuity teams of Bpifrance, so Bpifrance being the French Public Investment Bank. And I'll also have the pleasure of moderating today's session. So before starting the webinar and introducing our speakers, I just wanted to take the time to maybe brief those of you that are participating for the first time in these types of sessions. I give you an overview of the Africa and French Entrepreneurs community, which is the community that is hosting today's session. So this is a physical and digital community that has brought together over the past 3 years African and French companies from different sectors that wish to use this network either to establish partnerships, either to get a better overview and understanding of the French offer in terms of financing, of business support, or of sectoral expertise. So African French Entrepreneurs Community actually has two objectives. So the first one is to facilitate the business partnerships between African entrepreneurs and French entrepreneurs, but also French entrepreneurs with other French entrepreneurs and African entrepreneurs with other African entrepreneurs. And so for that, you have free access to the African Entrepreneurs Community on EuroQuity, so to help you with your B2B matching. And within this community that is dedicated solely to this exercise, you will also find information on upcoming networking events, whether in France or in Africa. You will also find more information on the other members of the community, as well as webinars and sessions, whether on other markets or sectoral expertise. And the second objective of this community that now has 600 members is well illustrated through today's session because the purpose is to help your understanding, whether you're French or African, of the entire solutions that are at your disposals, whether for financing your business, for expanding your business to new markets, or even just to gain some knowledge on other sectors. So alongside Bpifrance, we are very proud to have Bpifrance as our partners, the French Development Agency Group with Digital Africa, Expertise France, Proparco, the French networks of chambers of commerce and industries. And we also have a long list of African partners, whether incubators, accelerators, or employers organizations. So that was a quick word on Africa entrepreneurs, African French entrepreneurs community. And now I am very happy to present our panelists. So Nicole Blazik. Nicole is a project director for Inwards Investment in Sub-Saharan Africa within the Business Friends team in South Africa. And she's the one that will be presenting on one hand side, Business Friends Invest, and then also showing us the appeal of Friends for business and investment. So thank you again so much, Clarisse, for being with us today. And dear participants, please feel free to use either the Q&A option, either the chat option, because right after Nicole's presentation, we will be having a Q&A session where we will be more than happy to answer all of your questions. So without further ado, Nicole, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ann-Mareme. Good morning, everybody, and thank you to Bpifrance and Ann-Mareme and her team for organizing this webinar. So my name is Nicole Blazik. I'm project manager for Inward Investments at Business France. I'm based in Johannesburg, and from this office, we cover the Sub-Saharan African region. I'm here today with my colleagues, EuroQuity and Clarisse. So Business France is a government agency serving the international development of the French economy. It's responsible for the export growth of French SMEs and businesses, as well as promoting and facilitating foreign direct investment into France. My role and mandate is to attract investment into France. So we work and we assist foreign companies that want to set up. We provide qualitative information on the business environment, on sectors of excellence in France and its regions. We deploy a tailor-made approach for all projects that we work with, and our services are free and confidential. So I'm excited to chat to you today about our role assisting and accompanying African companies looking to expand and to set up in France. In 2024, for the 6th year in a row, France was top FDI destination on the continent, ahead of Germany and the United Kingdom. So this has been year on year since 2019. And these results are confirmed yearly by an independent survey done by EY. This confidence in 2024 was represented by 1,025 new projects into France. Resilient is the word used to describe the French economy against the backdrop of slowing global growth and heightened geopolitical tensions. So France therefore still remains highly attractive to foreign investors. More than 1/4 of the businesses that decided to invest in France in 2024 did so for the very first time. The rest were reinvest projects. So these were companies that are already present in France. They have expansion or extension projects. And this demonstrates their satisfaction with the current presence in France. 2/3 of the projects that were identified in France were accompanied by Business France. So this once again confirms our role in informing investors' choices. Projects originate from all continents. The United States is the leading investor in France. So this goes to show us that language is not a barrier to setting up in France. 15% of the total projects recorded in 2024 were from the United States. And there are currently over 18,000 foreign businesses operating in France, and these account for employing nearly 13% of France's workforce. So that's over 2 million people in France employed by a subsidiary of a foreign business. In terms of geographic distribution, these projects and investors are spread across France. So we see, interestingly, that 75% of these projects are out of the Île-de-France, Paris region. This shows the economic attractivity and the diversity of the different regions in France. There's a strong confidence in the French economy, which is perceived as to be full of opportunities. And this is thanks to some positive reforms and pro-business initiatives by the French government since President Macron came into power in 2017. The government continues to implement pro-business, pro-competitiveness, and pro-employment reforms over the years. One example I can give you is a progressive reduction of corporate taxation. So in 2017, corporate taxation in France was at 33%, and it is now at 25%, which is an average in Europe. We see that there's also increased flexibility when it comes to labor law and labor costs. These reforms are solid, and France continues to regain its position in the European arena, making the country more attractive and more innovative. France isn't resting on its laurels, and it continues to implement new business reforms. France's place at the heart of the AI global ecosystem is an important measure of the country's economic attractiveness and is also a cornerstone in enhancing the country's appeal in the future. France stands out particularly in the sectors of artificial intelligence and quantum research, where it is ranked first in Europe. At the Global Artificial Intelligence Summit, which took place in Paris in February this year, 109 billion euro were pledged by private investors as well as French companies for projects into France. And these projects are for the development and installation of new infrastructure into France. What's more, during this event, 61 countries signed a declaration for open, inclusive, and ethical artificial intelligence. Paris is the European capital of tech and the fourth largest tech hub in the world, now overtaking London. So why France? Why choose France? Why invest in France? It's the second biggest economy in continental Europe. It's the world's seventh largest economy, central location, geographically in the heart of Europe, the second biggest European market with more than 68 million consumers and access to 450 million high purchasing individuals in the neighboring countries, readily available and highly skilled workforce. France is recognized for its excellent talent. It has over 1 million graduate engineers, and 42% of the working population in France has tertiary education qualifications. The country has excellent infrastructure when it comes to road, rail, motorways, and river freight. Paris-Charles de Gaulle is the first airport for cargo and the second for passenger traffic in continental Europe. 2-hour flight from Paris to most European capitals. France is number one in Europe for average internet speed and second in the world. And the country continues to consolidate its position as a European destination for innovative investments in the EU. Companies that are investing in France are investing heavily in research and development. The country offers an R&D tax research credit, which is amongst the most generous tax incentives for R&D in the OECD countries. It's permanent and corresponds to a tax deduction of 30% of research expenses up to 1 million euro and 5% beyond that. The country has accredited innovation clusters with priority sectors such as food and agriculture, industrial decarbonization, decarbonized energy, sustainable materials, digital health, space, transportation, and sea. The country's established a very favorable ecosystem for the arrival of international talent. We have a 4-year renewable visa called a talent visa. So this covers the talent and allows the spouse to exercise a professional activity in France. It covers the minor children. We have schools with more than 550 international programs taught, and we have a tailored tax regime for newcomers and 126 bilateral tax treaties. In 2024, 95% of the electricity in France was low carbon. nuclear and or renewable energy. And France is number 2 in the world with the largest nuclear facilities. The country is ranked among the top 5 countries in the world achieving the best energy transition. We have a plan called France 2030, which was put into place over 5 years. And this is a government innovation plan which aims at making France a decarbonized country. So 50% of the funds are allocated for decarbonization of the economy, and 50% is allocated for emerging players in innovation. We see that many foreign investments are able to benefit from this France 2030 plan, and foreign investments continue to assist and to contribute to the decarbonization of the French economy. So let's focus on Africa. Here we have some examples of African and sub-Saharan African companies that have set up in France. If we look at Africa as a whole, we have 1,400 subsidiaries of African companies that have set up in France over the last plus 10 years. They employ around 15,000 people. 85% of African businesses that invested in France in 2024 did so for the first time. So this highlights France's potential as a gateway for African businesses wishing to set up in Europe. If we take a closer look at our region, Sub-Saharan African region, in 2024, we had 13 projects out of the region, and these will create around 200 jobs over a 3-year period. The projects come from 8 different countries in the region, and the FDI stock from African projects in France is currently around 3 billion euro. South Africa represents 30% of these projects. So if we look at South Africa, we have Aspen Pharmacare, which is a pharmaceutical company that chose to set up in Normandy around 10 years ago. We have a mining group called Sibanye-Stillwater that acquired a lithium factory. And this, once again, in the context of decarbonization, they've partnered with French companies and they are looking at the battery market for electric vehicles. We've got projects in tech, a big focus on tech. President Macron wants to make France a startup nation. We have events such as Viva Technology that take place yearly on this. We have projects in tourism, agriculture, finance, amongst other sectors. A recent success story out of South Africa from last year, we have a company in the Cape, in the Western Cape, that manufactured geosatellites, and they chose to set up in Toulouse. So why Toulouse? Toulouse is the European space capital, and for them it was of interest to set up for their access to clients, as well as setting up a factory and continuing their research and development. We have a South African PropTech EdTech company that chose to set up in the south of France, in Nice, Sophia-Antipolis, which is France and Europe's biggest techno park. So it very much depends on what a company wants to do. Of interest, recently, we're seeing a lot more happening in what we call ICC, the creative and cultural industries. We have African projects in animation, in film, in music and gaming setting up in France. So what does our accompaniment and facilitation mean as Business France? We work with companies right from the beginning of their project. We stay along with them all along the way. Business France provides information on a national level, and our correspondents are the actual regions in France. So once again, very dependent on what the company is doing on their sector of activity. We put them in touch with the right public players, with the right private players. We give them an overview of the ecosystem, and we continue to work with them once they are set up in France. So introductions to professional associations, to incubators, to accelerators. We organize look and see visits for them to France to see what's happening on the ground. We have information of events that might be of interest to them, specific to their sectors of activity. We have innovation clusters, we have competitivity clusters. So that's very much how we work with companies. A brief introduction from my side. Thank you for your time, for your attention, and we're available for all additional questions.
Thank you so much, Nicole, for this presentation of Bpifrance and of the French market. So, as I stated in the start of this webinar, entrepreneurs, please feel free to use the chat to either ask your questions, whether it being to the Bpifrance teams or the Bpifrance teams. And maybe before getting into the Q&A session, because I have a couple of questions I would like to ask Nicole, I just wanted to specify some elements because I've seen that it was a discussion within the chat. So the African French entrepreneurs community is both open to Francophone speaking founders and Anglophone speaking founders. The initiative actually has 41 African countries implicated in it. So obviously with having some entrepreneurs from Nigeria, from Ghana, from South Africa, it is a very important point that we also make some webinars in English. So this is what I wanted to say as a starter. But if you sign up to the community, which is free, you will find both some sessions in French and English covering markets like Ghana, Egypt, Kenya, but also Senegal, Côte d'Ivoire, Congo, for instance. So yeah, going back to the Q&A session, I see that we already have a first question. The first question that I did want to ask before addressing the question that's been put in the Q&A chat is, like, what are the challenges that you see the most often come up when African companies want to enter the French market?
Thank you for the question. So I think that African companies must know that within themselves that they're ready for the next step, that they need to expand, that the local market, there's only so much we can do. And I'll take the example of the spatial sector again. They need to grow, they need to commercialize, they need to continue the R&D. So I think that they need to have done, Bpifrance asks for a business plan from the company, a needs analysis to make sure that they are ready for that next step, that they want to grow. Yes. And I do think that they need to have done that market research to see a little bit, is there potential for them? Perhaps they've already had some interest from clients. Perhaps they've had companies reach out in a partnership for them. So they cannot just set out and set up in France without having done all of that, groundwork.
Okay, thank you very much for the precision, Nicole. So now I want to address one question that has been sent. We have an entrepreneur saying that she is already in France from Nigeria, and she has obtained the business talent passport. She works in sustainable textile and fashion, and she would like to know, how can Bpifrance Invest help her?
So congratulations. Thank you for choosing France to our entrepreneur. You're already far to the journey. You've set up in France, you've created your entity. I'm guessing you've opened a business bank account. From there, you have access to a variety of financing, one of them obviously being your Bpifrance. Financing, there's incentives on a national level and on a regional level, depending where you are. You've applied and you've obtained the talent visa. So that's generally when the company founder, CEO, wants to go to France, wants to set up the office, wants to start commercializing the biz dev. And What we can do for you, dependent, you can reach out to us. We'll give you email addresses. Dependent on where you are in France, we can maybe see what are your requirements. Do you need to recruit talent? Do you need off space, co-working space, storage, warehousing? Textiles, are you importing from your country of origin? We can assist with that, maybe make some introductions locally. So I would say, and any other type of visa requirements, perhaps you're looking to send some of your staff from your country of origin to France. We can look at intra-company transfer visas to train the French staff you will be hiring. So you can reach out to us. You can give us, information on your setup. As I say, you're already pretty as close as 99% of the journey there. So on the ground, we can make an introduction to the regional development agencies, and those are correspondents on the ground.
Thank
I
you so
hope it
much.
gives you a bit of an idea.
Yeah, that was very insightful, Nicole. And I just wanted to also add, um, on the um, on the Bpifrance stand, we do have a mandate that is solely for French registered companies. But that being said, and I'll put it in the chat, we have a department that is dedicated to cultural and creative industries that's called the French Touch. And they both have investment activities, but then once again, it is correlated to the nationality of the firm. So if your firm has a branch here in France, we will be able to deploy some of those financing tools. And then on the other hand, they also have a networking aspect where different companies from their portfolio, so they really range in sizes. They go from SMEs to like big players like Brut, for instance, or even Jacquemus. And so yeah, that could be also, I think, interesting for the extra financial side of the services. So hopefully we covered your question. Moving on to a next question that I also wanted to couple up with one of the questions that I had, and I know that you've touched upon it, but maybe we can go deeper into the details. So one question is, what are the requirements to set up a business in France? And I wanted to like really couple it up with more a legal approach and regulatory steps that entrepreneurs need to go through. Like, let's say I want to start opening my business in France. Where do I start from there?
Okay, thank you for the question. So HQ stays, head office is in your country of origin, and you want to set up a subsidiary. So we have various type of documents available. We work with Mazars, the auditing firm. So we can give you a general idea of you should set up a subsidiary and not a branch, and we can explain the whys to you. And then you have to choose where it is in France you want to be. So you don't have to be in Paris, as we've said, dependent on what your company is doing. So Ann-Mareme HQ in Africa is in fintech, in cybersecurity. I would suggest that we look at Normandy. We have an interesting ecosystem when it comes to fintech and cybersecurity. So once again, we ask you for that's why we do this needs analysis with you. And so setting up the legal entity is once you know, this is what I want to be, this is where I want to be, you've chosen your region, you've chosen your town, and then we provide lists of reference service providers. You have to use a lawyer specialized in company law. You have to use a chartered accountant. You can't open it, can't try to do it on your own. Same story with the practical requirements. You need to open a business bank account. And that's why the regional correspondents are important, because they make introductions to the banks. So ours is an overview. We can tell you, but then we provide you have to reach out to the people. Then you set up your company statutes. You want to do your shareholders agreement, etc., etc. So that's setting up your entity. You have to open your bank account. Then we'll look at your requirements. You need to rent office space, you need to rent a warehouse, etc. So yeah, I think that all the paperwork, all the administration, we guide you similar to the visas, but once again, we're an information service. So we give you, this is what you need to do, this is how you go about it, and then you set up the meetings with the lawyers, with the chartered accountants, etc.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much, Nicole. And what you're saying is quite interesting. So before moving on to the next question, I just wanted to deep dive on something that you said, because while you were doing the presentation, you explained the fact that anything that is space tech related is Toulouse. You were giving another example on Normandy. Maybe can you give us an overview, if you can, obviously, of maybe the particular region in France that are specific to certain sectors? For instance, does Business France help also in identifying the right region, the right city, and what are the key cities to know for a couple of sectors?
Thank you. Thanks for that question. And then I'll just ask you to remind me in the chat, going back to the previous question, we have a fantastic website in French and in English called Welcome to France. So I'll pop that on. It's really, really useful for everybody. We cover companies, all sectors of activity, all sizes. So let's look at agriculture. Bakwe and I did a call yesterday with an agribusiness company. There we look at a fresh produce market in Paris called Rungis. So it's the biggest fresh produce market in continental Europe, and he wants to be there. So if we work quite well with the south of France region. So south of France, what we call Provence, Alpes, Côte d'Azur, they have a strong link with Africa. Specifically when it comes to tech, I would say. So they have some interesting programs. So similar to La French Tech, which is present in all countries, they have programs and companies apply for them. If they're selected, they can be selected for a soft landing program, for an incubation and acceleration. So that's a region that is particularly interested in Africa. Year on year, they choose different countries and they do a little what we call a prospecting trip. So we did South Africa last year, we're doing Senegal this year, and they've already looked at Ivory Coast for next year. So those are some of the regions that we work particularly strongly with. However, we have a project in EdTech recently, and the region of Nouvelle-Aquitaine reached out to us and said, okay, we want to talk to you. We've got a lot happening in EdTech. So we've got some ideas of which regions, which towns, and often the regions we have, what happens is that when Business France gets our projects, it goes back to head office in Paris, and then it's sent out to the different regions in France that we've possibly identified. We may have well not thought of a specific region, and in that during little marketplace, that region will put their hand up, and that's how New Aquitaine came and said, okay, we want to tell you about EdTech in our region.
Thank you so much, Nicole. And it is interesting to also have, the example of the agritech that you were talking about. Moving on to the next question, and you did remind you to put the, I think, Welcome to France site in the chat. So thank you for doing that in advance. Another question that we had, so it's an entrepreneur that is working in solution to decarbonize the industry. So they have a solution in green hydrogen. And so the question being, how does African French entrepreneurs community facilitate direct purpose-driven partnerships between African projects and French technology providers? So I'll maybe give a first answer and then I'll let Nicole complete. So first of all, the African French entrepreneurs community really is a one-stop shop for you to have insights and an overview and the contacts and the ways to contact these people within one community itself. So if you register, I'm really going to give a very operational answer. So if you register right now, you just need to go through an approval, a check that my teams will just make sure that you're all set to join the community. And within the community, like I said, you do have a feed, a discussion feed that essentially, oh yeah, so the 2nd of October, we have a webinar coming on Congo, Brazzaville, for instance, or, oh, if you're looking for more information on, I don't know, clean tech in Kenya, for instance, here's a webinar that's coming on. But within the community itself, you also have access to, I don't know how you said in English, an annuaire. It's like a
A
repertory of,
directory.
yeah, thank you, yeah, directory, exactly, of all of the companies within the community. And so all of these companies are either companies that are from our portfolio, from Bpifrance, either from Business France, either from ProParco. So you know that you have a set of quality companies that are there. So the first way that you can go about trying to establish a partnership is really going through that community members list, and you'll see that you have some filters that you can put on. So you have filters per geography, you have filters per turnover, you have filters per numbers of employees that you have within the company, you have filters per sector as obvious. I think you have about 15 sectors that are registered within the community itself. So what I would suggest to you is creating your profile, going into the community, putting clean tech and energy, and then just going through that list. If that is not enough, because that is already 600 companies that we have selected to be a part of the community. If that isn't enough, the EuroQuity platform itself, which is the platform that has the how do you say that I'm losing my English. That it's the platform on which the community is registered on. The platform itself has over 23,000 companies. So African First Entrepreneurs Community, like I said, very specific to Team France, very specific to African and French entrepreneurs. But then this is just registered on a bigger platform that has 23,000 companies. So if you do not find, for instance, partners amongst the members that we have, you can also look at other geographies on the platform itself, which is still for free. And then the second way that I think that you can go by looking for your business, and this is what we try to do within the community, is that we try to orient the entrepreneurs to the right organization within the Team France. So most likely what would have happened is if you did not find a partner by going through the community, I would have oriented you towards Business France. And then as Business France, okay, so this company is looking for this and that. Do you have this within your portfolio? And I think that may be a transition if you want to bounce on it, Nicole.
Thank you. I think that you've covered quite a bit there. Decarbonisation, obviously a priority sector for France. Maybe also to backtrack, I have spoken about France, and obviously I'm talking about mainland France in the continent. But as a reminder, we have two French overseas territories in the Indian Ocean. We have Reunion Island and we have Mayotte Island. So what we're seeing of interest, and it makes me think because I have a project in green construction that's actually looking at Mayotte. So we're seeing that proximity with East and Southern Africa. So obviously it's, it's a sector of interest, it's a sector of priority in France. I'm not an expert in green hydrogen, so we have the experts, so we can reach out and, maybe put some information to the specific entrepreneur that's looking at that. I'm not sure if it answers the question.
Let us know if that answers your question. And thank you very much for that, both Nicole and fellow entrepreneur. Another question that we have is, so when seeking to connect with a French corporate to partner with, do you advise us to reach out to them directly, on our own or going through your office for a warm introduction? I guess that this is a question for the Business France teams.
Okay, so Bpifrance is a government agency with a trade commission, two sides to the business. What I do, as well as what my colleagues do, and their role is to work with French SMEs looking to come to the countries where Bpifrance has an office. As a government agency, we cannot make direct introductions to corporates, to clients, to distributors. Just to reiterate, ours is accompanying, facilitating, providing information, trying to put you in touch with the right people, but not direct introductions to corporates.
Thank you, Clarisse. And on our side, on Bpifrance's side, so the EuroQuity platform, so once again, on which the community is registered, has instant messaging aspects. So it is up to you to go on the platform, access the company's profile, and then from there you can choose within the community, within the company, who would you like to talk with, and then you can just go on this basis. Yes, that's what I would say. But most of the companies that you will find within the community are actively looking for partners. So you have a lot of chances that if your partnership needs are aligned, that you can further your partnership potential. And on the platform itself, and you will see also for yourselves, it really kind of is like a LinkedIn, but instead of having some individual profiles, you have some company profiles. So once you go on the company profile, not only will you have a small description of what it is that they do, the members of their team, but then you also have some tabs that the companies can fill up. And when I say the companies, it also means you when you're going to create your profile. There's also a tab on we're looking for partners, and that gives the chance to the company to give more information on the market of interest, the sectors, and if it's a demand or an offer. So maybe let me look at the other questions that we had. Um, I think, yeah. So another question that I actually had is, what are the, yeah, we talked a lot about decarbonization and agri-tech. Are there any other opportunities or trends that you see coming up that you think that African founders should look watch for in the next 3 to 5 years in France?
We're seeing a lot happening in those sectors. Quite a lot of what's interesting that coming out of Africa is that I think often African entrepreneurs are confronted to problems and they have to come up with innovative solutions that perhaps other countries are not, not experiencing. So I think we've touched on the main sectors. Creative and cultural industries, we see a lot happening in that at the moment. Fintech, cybersecurity, blockchain, agri-tech, once again, solutions. I think those are the top of mind, yes, at the moment.
Okay.
Yes.
Very, very clear. Thank you, Nicole. I'm just thinking about something that I did not mention when we were talking about the partnerships, is that on Bpifrance's side. So just to be clear on the way that we intervene towards African companies. So you either have EuroQuity that enables you to either reach out to other companies, either reach out to other investors, because we've spoken a lot about the companies, but we also have about 2,000 investors registered on the platform, some ranging from business angels to VC funds to private equity funds. And another thing that I wanted to say is that if you do end up signing a partnership agreement with a French company, once that agreement totals up to 1 million euros, so it is generally some big, not big corporations, but some strong standing SMEs that do manage to sign this type of contracts. We have a whole offer of export financing that is now also available to the companies. But then the condition just being that the minimum sign between the French company and the African company is of a minimum of 1 million euros. And if you want more information on this, within the community, you'll find the webinar that we organize on exports financing solutions within the French Public Investment Bank. And I think that that's also what's really interesting with the Team France, is that we are all complementary on the different steps of business expansion or partnership solutions between French and African companies. Another question that I did want to ask is there a service within Bpifrance Invest that is possible for African companies to test out the French market without fully committing to setting up their operations there?
The answer would be no. So companies would want to either set up a subsidiary office, either they're interested in acquisition or a partnership. So I think it goes back to they would have to know, okay, there is a potential. I'm seeing, going back to the African diaspora in France and in Europe, I have a company from Côte d'Ivoire that set up, and in the beauty range, and for them, they had already identified that there was definitely a market for them. So I think that, I have an architectural firm that wants to answer the needs of the diaspora in France, in Europe. Perhaps those people want to build a home in their country of origin for their aging parents, for themselves, for their retirement, etc. So they have to identify already a niche, a market, and see what's out there.
And maybe following up on this question, is there any service that you offer for whether better understanding the business etiquette in France or anything that has to do with intercultural exchanges and cultural integrations?
So not from the Bpifrance side of things, probably not from the regional development agencies, but once again, and I'm thinking of the south of France region, because we're having quite a lot of African entrepreneurs that are being accepted for various programs. Within there, I think they might be able to get some of that feel and intercultural, dynamics. So yes.
Okay.
I think networking events are always of interest. So I'm hopping on the south of France, but it's top of mind because there's an interesting event the last week of November. So, we're telling our entrepreneurs and companies about that. So I think networking, I see one of the questions were about, why we're doing this in English. So obviously we all go between French and English. Today we're talking to Anglophone Africa. Next time we're talking to Francophone Africa. So it's, I would say networking events definitely comes to mind as something. Also, what I see is that often Francophone and Anglophone Africa are not actually talking to each other. So setting up a subsidiary in France allows, let's say, a company out of Kenya to within time maybe access Cameroon, Senegal, etc. So as a French entity, they can then benefit from what we call Bpifrance export. Those are French companies wanting to export their products, their solutions. So we kind of see that it is, and you've made reference to the Team France, which is definitely relevant, yes.
Thank you very much, Nicole, for this. And yes, just maybe staying on the question of networking events. Like I said, we usually relay all of the big networking events between Africa and France. We have BPI Inno Generation, so big, that is going on next Tuesday at Accor Arena. So it's a huge gathering with about 70,000 entrepreneurs that are participating. It's for free. I'll put the link within the community. We have Ambition Africa that's also coming up on the business side of France, and I'll let you Nicole say a couple of words.
Yeah.
on Ambition Africa, because I think that that's very interesting especially for African founders, for the participation. And another event that I want to also highlight, and I'll also be putting it on the community, is that we have an awesome partnership with Friends of Nigeria with the upcoming event, a Spotlight Nigeria, next Monday as well. So stay tuned within the community, as I'll be also sharing some information on this. And I'll let you, Nicole, say something about, touch a word on Ambition Africa.
Thank you. So Ambition Africa takes place in Paris on the 18th and 19th of November. It's our 5th edition. Last year, we had over 1,500 participants from 40 plus African countries. We have French companies attending, 2 days of networking, roundtable panel discussions. And I think what's maybe useful for the entrepreneurs is that there's a B2B platform. So you register, you can see who the other delegates are, and you can then set up B2B meetings with them. Chat to African companies, chat to French companies. I'll pop that in the chat as well, the link for that.
Awesome. I don't know if there are any other questions from the attendees. We have a couple of minutes left, so if you were too shy to ask your questions before, please feel free to do so. Or if you want further explanations on something, please feel free to. But yeah, other than that, I guess all I have to say is just to thank you. So thank you to the whole steering committee of the Africa entrepreneurs community in South Africa. So our colleagues also from the French embassy that weren't able to connect, but that also participated in organizing the session. A big thank you also to the Bpifrance teams. So Nicole, Clarice, Yanko, thank you so much for helping us also organize this session. It's been very insightful also on our end. And for all of the entrepreneurs, I hope that this session was both useful to better understand the French markets, to better understand Bpifrance Invest, to also have a better understanding of how it is that Bpifrance and Bpifrance work together. And we look forward to seeing you within the African Friends Entrepreneurs community. And just to let you know, just to highlight 2 upcoming sessions that are of interest. We have a next one, I think it's on the 2nd of October, to help you better discover Congo-Brazzaville. So we'll have the Private Sector Federation of Congo, the French embassies, and the French Chamber of Commerce covering that region that will be presenting the market. And then we have one on cultural and creative industries in Nigeria coming up on the 24th of October as well. So yeah, either seeing you soon within the community or to Ambition Africa, Big, or Spotlight Nigeria. Thank you so much.
Thank you to Ann-Mareme. Thank you to the Bpifrance team and to all our entrepreneurs for your interest in listening to us today.
Thank you. Have a lovely day, everyone.
Cheers. Have a good day. Bye-bye.